Okay. Do I have? Am I at host status yet, so that I can actually make people co-host, because that doesn't seem to be available at the moment.
Hi, Litsa.
Yeah, so I am okay, everybody, yep, okay, everybody is co-host except not Daniel at the moment, not Streeter, so let's see if I can get that sorted out. Is Litsa, are you there still?
Can you hear me, Christopher?
I can, yes.
Okay, finally. Sorry, I had to make all of you co-hosts that are part of this group. And let me stop sharing the... Okay, great. It just takes a minute longer or a few seconds longer on YouTube. Okay, and it's just at the top of the hour. I hope I can be heard because I know you can hear me through Zoom. I'm just waiting to see if the live on YouTube is coming through. Okay, so here I can see your faces and presumably therefore we are all coming through. Thank you to everybody who was with us in the last session. A little bit of patience was needed, but we did manage to get Daniel Duza to tell us a few wonderful things about his talk, which was on Now We Are Online, How to Deal with Contract Cheating. And we have here a new group, which has something that I'm definitely looking very much forward to hearing about. And that's their talk is called Taking Small Steps on the Road to Integrity. And this is a group from the United Arab Emirates. And as you can see, a number of individuals. I'll probably not pronounce some of these names correctly, so please don't shoot the messenger, as they say. So Chris Hill, Sriyat Balasubramanian.
That's correct.
Gao.
Fantastic.
Oh. I'm coming over there, and you can give me that pat on the shoulder. Stephen Gao.
I will.
Tim Daly, Gomathi KG, Nitesh Sugnani, and Zenith Khan. So welcome, and we are very much looking forward to your session. You have control, so you can share screen and do whatever you want, and I'm going off to give you the session. It's all yours.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody, colleagues, and the wider world. It's our pleasure to be here from fairly warm UAE still today. Our colleague Nitesh isn't able to join us, so although he was introduced, we will present some doing the business of integrity at the moment, and therefore unable to join a Zoom call to talk about integrity. So we'll present his perspective. So we thought it might be a nice idea to go around the room, as it were, and just have colleagues explain why they're interested in integrity and sort of why we're all gathered today. So as I'm looking at my screen, I guess people are probably in a slightly different order, but if we maybe start with Zenith, and Zenith, if you want to just a few words about your background and why you're interested in integrity, once we've done the roundtable, we'll sort of talk a little bit more about what we're actually doing here collectively within the UAE. So, Zenith, I'll hand over to you for a few minutes.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you, of course, to International Center for Academic Integrity for giving us this platform. We're quite excited from UAE to be joining the global community today. As Chris said, I'm Zenith. I'm from the University of Wollongong in Dubai. I've been teaching at the university for the last 20 years, and this area of research has been my absolute passion. I think I get my inspiration from when I myself was a student and the kind of struggles and obstacles I faced, but also the fantastic community that I had around me, from the principal of the school to my parents and my teachers and my classmates, and how that kind of changed and motivated me to become the person that I am today. So a lot of that kind of went into when I became a teacher, looking at why are students faltering, what's happening, how can we help them, what are the ways we can be more proactive. So that's where I came from, and that's why I've been so interested in this area and just love working in this, whether it's with faculty members like yourselves or with students.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Gomathi, would you like to say a few words about your experience, please?
Hi everyone, I'm Gomti. I'm from the Gulf Medical University. This is a medical school based in UAE. So we always in the medical school talk about professionalism, we talk about medical ethics, and somehow the relationship between this academic integrity and professionalism and medical ethics is not made that clear during our curriculum. And so this is a point that interests me a lot, because students need to develop a sense of integrity across the entire spectrum. You have to develop it in all spheres of life, whether it be academic or it be medical ethics or professionalism at your workplace. So I think this is a continuum, and I'm happy to be here to share this platform with all of you.
Thank you very much. Srijit, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. Good morning or good evening, depending on where you are, to everyone. It's very privileged to be here talking to a global audience in this platform. My name is Srijit. I work as a lecturer in Middlesex University, Dubai. It's an international branch campus of Middlesex University in Henton. So like Sinath said, we also promote academic integrity a lot in the university, and I have been working with this from 2012, if I'm correct, Sinath, right? We had a paper published back in 2012. So from there, we had the first conference we co-hosted, and since then it's been like, I've seen how this has been grown, and we want to further promote and now encourage more and more universities in this region to come forward. So we are working in that direction. But I'm really happy to be part of this fantastic group, and to know that we have this global support that we have to promote academic integrity. So I'm looking forward for this.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And you won't be last, because I'll go after you. But Tim, if you'd like to say a few words.
Fair enough. Yeah, my name's Tim. I'm a digital marketing professor at Zayed University in Dubai. I'm a relative newcomer, I guess, to the academic integrity, specifically contract cheating area, particularly in research. I guess I've been dealing with it on and off as an instructor for a decade, but I actually kind of fell into it when my 15-year-old son showed me a website he was using to get ideas for a paper for his high school class. And the website had a list of 50 ideas for his AP psychology class. And it was from a contract cheating website. That led me down a very long, dark search engine optimization path. And it turns out that, yeah, I guess from a digital marketing point of view, we can all learn a lot from the contract cheating website. So I'm really approaching it from that side, and I'm well and truly deep into this now. So it's sort of my passion project, which I think will also be really interesting moving forward. So I'm super excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's funny. My experience is different, but a little bit similar to the one Tim mentioned. I've worked in, like a lot of my colleagues, in many different countries, and I'm always interested by the way in which this sort of approach differs by context, by culture, by sort of background, and particularly as I've worked predominantly for British universities, there's always that expectation that students anywhere will understand the different types of ethics that are enshrined somewhere else. And you know, when you conduct research across borders, there's always new things to learn and new things to explore. And so my involvement with this group stemmed from two instances. One is Zenith, who knocked on my door and said, so do you want to help stop cheating? Not really say no. I mean, what are you going to say? No, I like cheating. That doesn't really work, or should it? But the second was a flyer that was posted under the windscreen wiper of my car, parked outside Academic City, which is one of the two main educational hubs in Dubai. And it was a flyer essentially for advertising contract cheating. So it was essentially, you want to buy an essay, here's a phone number to call. And well, from a marketing perspective, this is where the target audience is. But just that sort of notion to me was very, very strange. And you know, it's something that we're obviously all very interested and very passionate about. And we've all come together in this sort of group. There are other colleagues, as we said, but we're all coming from slightly different perspectives. But I think we're all very much like-minded. And so we have this session today, which we're very, very grateful for, where we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we are doing. We're going to talk, I think, maybe a little bit about some of the things we've just done. We had a conference not that many months ago, although it was during quarantine, so it feels like many, many months ago. I was wondering, Zenith, would you like to just, because Sri sort of mentioned this as part of the ongoing activity that we've been doing. I wondered, Zenith, would you like to just say a few words about not just the conference itself, but sort of how it's building on the legacy of what has existed and come before it?
Okay, so around 2005 was when I first wrote like a news article about student cheating in schools, right? And the article actually drew quite a lot of attention. It came in one of the leading newspapers in the country, and the kind of response I got kind of encouraged me to start looking at, because around that time was when I was also trying to think what kind of PhD did I want to do, and I really wanted to do something with technology and ethics. So that's where I kind of started looking at why students do what they do, right? What are the different factors that kind of motivate or influence them towards electronic cheating? And that kind of cultivated into the PhD thesis that I ultimately submitted. But in that journey, throughout that journey, what happened was in 2012, of course, about 10, I think, Srijit and I started looking at, collecting data and analyzing data. And then we had our first paper in 2012. And then in 2014, Dr. Tracy Britek was in UAE. And she actually visited our campus. And it was just like by fluke that I met her. And she was trying to see how she could bring the International Center for Academic Integrities, like a regional conference in the UAE. And we jumped and we said, oh yes, let's bring this. This is so awesome. And she kind of pushed me and she said, go finish your PhD. And then let's see if you can chair the conference. So that kind of started rolling the ball. But there were times when we were doing that initial 2016 conference when Srijit and I thought we might even have to cancel the conference because we weren't getting a lot of traction. It was meant to be regional. It was meant to have a focus in the country, around the region. But we had a lot more international delegates registering, wanting to publish papers than the local. But towards the end, we had about 20 delegates, and about 1/3 of them were local. So that was a good number, and we decided 20 is good for something like this, where it's one of those topics nobody wants to really touch, and everybody's always conscious about should we talk about it, shouldn't we talk about it, because there is so much stigma around the concept of talking about academic integrity, student cheating, contract cheating. So it's a lot of this comes from the notion that if I say there is a problem, that means I'm saying there's a problem with me or my class or my student or my university. And a lot of people everywhere, I think, in the world, it's like that. Once till the awareness hits, everybody is a little bit there's a pushback. But we did the 2016 conference, and towards the end, there was a panel discussion with Dr. Tracy, Dr. Teddy Fishman, who was at the time the president of ICAI, and some local faculty members and school counselors. And they said, what we need is a central body that's going to be helping us. And but to get to that, we had to obviously have more local interest, right? And then another international body called the European Network for Academic Integrity, we got in touch with them, and that's how I met Chris, I met Professor Gomati, Tim, through a lot of the projects that we were doing with them. And in that line, that's when we said, hey, we could do another conference. Now there seemed to be a little bit more interest from the local faculty fraternity. And, and then that's how we kind of ended up doing the conference together. Chris was, of course, the technical chair there. That's the one that we did this year. And I think it was really good because we had a lot of local participation this time, whether it was from attending or participating in terms of presenting papers. So I think we had a good representation this time from the country, from the region, compared to 2016. And that shows definitely that there is an interest. People are wanting to talk more about it, so that at the end of the day, we want to be proactive. We want to help the students. We want to ensure that we are uplifting the quality of the degrees that we are providing. Chris?
Yeah, excellent. Thanks very much. Yeah, a very long journey, a bit bumpy here and there, but excellent conference, I think, at the end. Sri, do you wanted to add maybe a little bit about your experience with this and where we've been?
Yes, adding to Seenath, we were colleagues before, we worked for the same university before. And I was, before I moved to academy, I was working as an engineer first, and then I was moved into the role of an institutional researcher. So my role is in quality assurance. I was looking at the academic policies around cheating, and also looking part of the accreditation related aspects. So more from an administrative perspective. So I also used to have focus groups with students to understand, their concerns. It's all part of the institutional research. So for me, it would be easy for me to go to a student, not as a lecturer, but as an institutional researcher. They are more open to me, and so you get a lot of ideas from them. Not necessarily from those who cheat, but for those students who don't cheat, but they think they are being they kind of disadvantaged by students who kind of use other means to get advantage. And what also interests me at that time, and Seenath were discussing with me regarding the ideas, is since I come from an engineering background, I basically from a telecommunication and electronics background, it was on electronic cheating, or e-cheating we call it at that time. And it was the time when it was booming and new technologies were in place, but the systems were not in place at that time. And it was mostly the policies were around traditional and normal ways of cheating. And suddenly all this, we all have assessments online, we have plagiarism. So all of these things are there, but not necessarily there is no policy framework behind it in terms of what happens if students engage in kind of cheating. So usually when a student is caught in class using some paper as a cheat or to do the cheating, yes, we know what to do, etc. But in terms of how to have this, so there are a lot of policy changes we made at that time. And now since then, what internet has grown, and we have new tablets, new softwares. As in one side, we have the technology that is growing in terms of how to catch these kind of things. And there are other sides where we have the softwares that are going to how to help students cheat. And where we have like you upload a paper and it gets automatically rephrased in like matter of seconds. And students, so you have the plagiarism software and you have the counter software now. So it's kind of going here. So one way is to use technology, but other way is to create that awareness and importance to tell students, look, we are doing this as a favor, and we should not engage this. And some of these initiatives around students taking pledge of not engaging in this, and I think Gomati also do that in medical field. It's a very important thing to take that pledge. So I also feel technology is only one part, but there are so many other things in terms of creating awareness and making sure students believe that this is not the right way, and that's the right approach to do it. And just one thing, I just want to add is, now we are moving more towards, now I'm also the chair of the research committee at Middlesex University. So I've been looking at from a student research perspective, because research is now a big factor, and we are moving towards from a closed book and a classroom exam format to more of project-based, research-based projects. So there is more emphasis is required now, because the entire degree could be, or good part of a degree is based on research projects. So how we ensure that research is done by the student themselves, they are doing in ethical manner. So there are so many aspects that needs to be done further, because the way we are going, again, the policies and practices needs to be in place as we progress from research. So for me now, my more focus is on that aspect, especially how to compact this or improve academic integrity in student research. It includes undergraduate, postgraduate, even at a PhD level, and this is very high now, because as you said, there are a lot of money involved, to be honest, and people are like, approaching students to say that, look, we can write this for you for this much amount, and you had the experience of having the flyer in your car windshield, right? I mean, your windshield wiper. And I think once I remember the flyers were like thousands of flyers in one time across the campus, from Starbucks to Costa to everywhere. This flyer, I think they just want to just go crazy. So which means no student will miss out. There were like thousands of flyers just, in the campus. I mean, it was like 3-4 universities together here in Knowledge Village, but it was everywhere. And that shows that, it's just gone like, I haven't seen that afterwards, not that level, but it's still there. I can be sure. All right, I think that's it. So, Christopher.
No, I mean, thanks very much. And you raised the absolutely critical point that particularly as technology is becoming more and more prevalent, and particularly because most of us have been teaching online, and this is something we'll talk about a bit later when we talk about a practitioner webinar series, that the new responses we are always running behind the people that are providing the opportunities for academic misconduct. And you raised a very important issue that, in some cases it's an awareness, in some, I didn't know I was cheating, is very different from I deliberately trying to cheat. So before we come to Tim, who's going to share some examples of research, Gamathi, would you like to sort of voice your views on sort of what we've just been talking about?
Yeah, I really agree with you. When I talk to the incoming students of the first year, I have discovered that most of them have no concept of, plagiarism, or it's just not we need to develop a culture actually of this. And many of them are getting into cheating without realizing that this is cheating, doing it because others are doing it and they think that it's okay to do so. And I think that we need to develop more awareness. And, research has shown that people who finally get into medical malpractice, for example, have already shown some of these kind of misconduct in medical school. And it can be traced all the way back. And we ourselves, a little piece of research we did, showed that all the people who indulge in any kind of academic misconduct within the university actually were doing it from school. So how early do we start? So we really, I'm glad that, we should have more the school people also coming in, because this is a culture that needs to be nurtured. And it is something that needs to develop all the way. And I think that, like smoking, I'm sorry, I'm from the medical thing, so everything, all my references are like smoking. I think awareness has brought down smoking quite a lot. I think we should have to use the same kind of, principles here. We need to build the sense of awareness that it is bad for you in the long run. You may get away with it now because of something, but it's not good for you in the long run. And because of that, you should not do so, even if people around you are doing it. I think we can draw a lot of parallels with smoking, according to me. And I think we can use the same kind of strategies, in fact, to develop a culture of academic integrity, because it's a behavior and it can be changed.
I think that's a fantastic point. It reminds me of a story Zenith told me one of the first times we met, where she said, yeah, so, you know, in primary schools, when, you know, kids get a lot of homework and it's too much homework and the parents end up doing most of the homework. And I said, well, at that point, my daughter was 2, so not a problem for me, but I understand it's coming down the line. And she said, well, a kid takes home a project or a piece of work. They don't have the time or they can't do whatever it might be, and their parents effectively do it for them. The next morning, that same kid goes into class and says, look what I did. That is building a culture of plagiarism, because they did not do that. They are presenting work as their own, which has been through systems done by somebody else. And so, as Matthew is saying, this culture is not at university. You know, you need to get people much earlier on to sort of build this fundamental understanding. Yeah, so no, it's an excellent point. Tim, if we can turn to you, please, and I think maybe you have some information to share with us about some research and activity you've been engaged with. Let's see if we can get this to. I say we. I'm just sitting here watching. I mean, you. If it works. Yeah, I'm not claiming credit for Tim's work, right? This is all Tim. There we go. Wonderful.
All right, so now I'm unmuted. I should be better at sharing screens, given this is pretty much my day. So I'm taking sort of the marketing approach to this, and I think it really dovetails nicely in with the idea of awareness and whatnot, in that these companies are absolutely blanketing our students, your students, all the students with contacts, both electronically and physically. I'm mostly interested in the digital side of it. So this slide, I hope you can see it okay, is 3 WhatsApp messages. So I have one of my students, all of our students are in these WhatsApp groups for all of their subjects. And one of my students, we were talking about this yesterday after class, and I mentioned that I was talking about this, and she said, oh, we get absolutely hammered with these messages 24/7 in our WhatsApp groups. I was like, okay, cool. Can you, in the morning, if you don't mind, send me a few examples just from today? So this is what she sent me today. This was all from yesterday in different groups that she received. I've tried to blank out any identifying info just to be on the safe side. So these were all received by my student yesterday. According to her, this is pretty standard. These are, I've cropped out the websites and the contact numbers and stuff. They are absolutely bombarded almost 24/7 with these on social media, on WhatsApp, on various other places. And I believe this is where I sort of come at it with the awareness side of things, in that we would love to believe that it's only the students who want to cheat that are really aware of this stuff and are paying attention to it and whatnot. But the unfortunate thing is that the students don't have a choice about being aware of this or not. They are forced to be aware of it in every aspect of their academic lives at the moment. And we do them a disservice by pretending that only the bad students or people like that are aware of it. So my main focus now is on awareness and education for students of the marketing tactics that are used against them. So from my point of view, this is kind of a nice dovetail for me, in that I get to teach about digital marketing. For instance, this is one example. I'm mostly interested in search marketing. So I think Thomas might be watching on the YouTube live. I took this from his paper and I did a search. So the search marketing side of things as well is such a interesting topic. And what I'm attempting to do over the next few weeks and months is create an information literacy, not workshop, I guess, case study that can be taken into any lower level class to teach them the basics of search engine optimization, because if we live on Google, we should really know why certain websites are at the top. So I think it's a really valuable information literacy discussion, because even my digital marketing students are surprised to find out how websites get to the top of Google. The information literacy combined with educating them about the tactics of these companies. So trying to hook them in with a bit of this is useful information about Google, and then educate them about how these companies are accessing them. So this is just sort of an easy example, looking at, if you type in nursing essay, all of these companies are paid paper companies. Fine. You go to a website, pretty obvious if you've typed that in what that's going to be. The place where I started, and this is where my son showed me basically accidentally, is these companies don't so much care about those searches. They want everything else. So if you type in informative speech topics, as an example, and you might, as a student in high school, in university, whatever, you also are blanketed with with these contract cheating companies. So they've decided best way to find people is to completely blanket Google with their websites. So this is actually the focus of my research at the moment. I forgot that I made that zoom in. So this is some of the, I don't even remember how I did that. That's cool. So this is some of the stuff that you get to. So if you click on one of those links about informative speech topics, this is what you find: a price calculator, live chat, price discounts, all hits the student who maybe they weren't looking to cheat, but now they're well and truly aware they have this option, and it's very easy and it's in front of them. And so that is where I'm sort of coming at it. I believe that stopping contract cheating, particularly with technology, is sort of like, I think all of our panelists have said, almost a losing battle. Like you can't keep up. By educating, by making them aware, and by really focusing on assessment design, I think if we take those approaches, we'll solve far more of these problems than if we're trying to just catch them with electronic means and things like that. I've never really had a good result from catching people, but I've had good results from educating. So that's sort of been my approach. I won't go any further in this, but yeah, now I don't know how to stop sharing.
I mean, and that's it's an excellent segue both from what we've been talking about, but also into sharing Nitesh's slides, because we're talking about prevention rather than the cure, right? We're talking about, can we build a culture? Can we build an understanding? Can we, ensure that people don't do this thing deliberately? And so I'm going to see if I can share some slides from Nitesh. Is this now visible? Maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so Nitesh works. Our colleague Nitesh works for KHDA, the Knowledge and Human Development Authority in Dubai. And he's, as I said, he's working on quality assurance and integrity at the moment. So, but they're part of a group, the Quality Beyond Boundaries group, which is, as you can see, it's a network of different government agencies looking to share good practice and build sort of core principles of activity. And one of the main projects that they are working, everybody should be working on, is this number 2 about academic integrity. And this has sort of been a fundamental benchmark. And this obviously relates back to some of the points that Srijit was making, that the need for policy, the need for response. But it also talks about what Tim's talking about, which is the need for a better understanding and a toolkit that actually helps you address and come up with these issues. And so one of the things that's been is precisely this toolkit for academic integrity. It was developed by certain members within the group. So Tex in Australia took the lead, received funding from ICAI, and other members have been very, very engaged with it. And it's sort of gone through a different level of activity and a different level of review. And a toolkit was sent out in the summer period that looked at providing schools within Dubai receive this, providing them with an understanding of how you look at teaching online, how you look at monitoring assessment online, how you look at addressing these types of issues in an attempt to respond to the new challenges that we're only beginning, not even to understand, beginning to see, let alone understand how to respond to them. So KHDA promotes academic integrity, with it through conferences, and also adding it to quality manual branch campuses, which is the sort of one of the main remits of KHDA's control and review. And this academic integrity toolkit, and we can provide the link to this through the organizers, which looks at defining how you intervene. So it's sort of, a lot of it is looking at the reflective cycle. about how you analyze and how you educate, assess, and intervene, and how you look at it at different perspectives. And so it's an attempt by an international group of like-minded entities looking to try and share best practice or practice that hopefully builds towards best practice, to look at, again, through case studies and how we actually can raise awareness of what's happening and how people have responded, such that academic integrity can be built into something that is done without almost thinking. So at the moment, a lot of academic integrity is done, the assumption is it's done. And the idea is to build it so that it is so integrated that, you know, this is something that is just dealt with as a regular basis. Zina, do you have anything you wanted to add about what people have said? And then we'll sort of move, I guess, onto the next part of the...
Yeah, it's really amazing to hear, you know, what we have been doing here, because like I said, you know, towards the beginning, we didn't really have a lot of traction, a lot of interest in doing research. And in fact, in 2016, when we had those handful of authors who presented their papers, the first thing they would do when they actually stood up to present was to give a disclaimer that, oh, by the way, this study was not done on my campus. And then they went on to present their study. And by the third, after the third presentation, the chairs of these sessions, they looked at me and they said, Zinat, why are people giving us that disclaimer? I said, because we are new. This is where we are starting. And there is that pushback because that stigma is still there, where, you know, automatically if you talk about research, people assume you've done it on your campus and you've not really bothered to do it anywhere else, because where else would faculty get data, right? But I think we've come so far from that concept and that kind of mindset, because when we had the presentations in 2020, some of the stuff that all of you guys have just shared came out as research papers, and nobody was giving disclaimers, because it's understood we're not just going to be doing it on our campuses. We are going to be reaching out and doing it with other students from other universities, other schools, other countries, right? So this is not a problem that just exists in one country or one university. It's a global issue. We are just right now a part of a 2020 global marathon conversation. And we've got people coming and talking to us all the way from Japan and from Australia and UK and US and Canada. And here we are in UAE. So this is a global issue, right? But what's interesting is how people perceive it. And a lot of the times, in fact, I think just a couple of years ago or last year, we had this article about how some professors were looking at spy glasses as an option to get students to wear it during exams, so that you could monitor their eye movements and see whether they're cheating, right? And this is something that I think we've just generally been so no about, because the whole concept, I'm just going to try and share a couple of slides just to give you some visual perspective on what I'm trying to say. So I'm sure a lot of you may recognize this photo from 2015. This happened in India and Bihar, where and it became BBC News, and this screenshot is from there, where parents had hired people to climb the walls so they could give their children, you know, chits. When those parents were interviewed, and this is why I bring up this story, is that they said, of course, they're going to help their children, right? This is a competition. Even a 0.01% of a mark makes a difference about where my child will go next, what degree my child will be allowed to pursue, and ultimately what career my child might have. So of course, I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure they've got all the resources and everything possible. It's not that my child is not smart. My child is smart. My child has, knows his or her stuff, but everybody else is going to be getting the help. So why not my child, right? So this ideology of, you know, kind of justifying the end, right? With that, I will show you the next photo. Same country, different city, different state, different school. But here was a school that said, no more, we don't want to tolerate cheating. So they ended up putting cardboard boxes on their students' heads with a little hole so they could only look at their paper and not look left and right. The only reason I'm sharing this is just to show that if we have that attitude, right, where we are going to say, yes, this is a problem, and we need to find a solution, or I have my ways to justify why I'm doing what I'm doing, then we actually have a serious problem. We need to come at this from a perspective where we look at it as a very holistic thing, where we look at how we can be more educated, how we can be more proactive, how we can ensure that, yes, we've got the policies in place to handle situations when they do arise, but let's try and handle it way before it gets to the point where it's now a situation, right? So collectively coming together, doing research, finding out, for instance, what Tim is doing is so fantastic, looking at it from the company's perspective. Thomas has done so much work on this already, where we look at why companies do what they do, because it's such an easy, actually, business model, right? One of the first International Day of Action Against Contract Cheating events that we did at my campus, I got my students to do a debate. The debate was, is it really a business? Is it a legitimate business, right? And we had arguments from both sides. A lot of people students came back and said, yes, it is a legitimate business. As long as there is a law that doesn't say it isn't, it's a legitimate business model. They've got a website, they're offering a service, there's a demand, people are coming, they want that service. So why shouldn't it be legitimate, right? So this kind of conversations, having it with students is so important, because that also tells us how students think, you know. And like Chris, what you said, like, and Professor Gumati said as well, that, you know, they've come to a point, now they're saying it's okay, but this started quite young, when they were in school, when at home, when they were being taught, don't lie. But as a parent, I would pick up the phone and go, I'm sorry, I can't come to work today because I'm not well. But then the next moment I'm taking my kid and going to the mall, or I'm catching a game on TV, you know. So I'm implicitly teaching my child, it's okay to lie to authority. It's okay not to necessarily be truthful at all times, right? So as collectively, as a community, as a society, we need to be thinking, how do we go forward? Not look at it as a problem, but as, let's see how can we collectively become better and have that culture of integrity as a part of every conversation that we have.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, Zina is posing a hypothetical about lying to her boss. Not public global admission on a live stream. So yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I think it's an interesting notion that we don't want to talk about it because it reflects negatively on us, rather than if everybody talked about it, we could have a better sense of addressing the problem. Again, that's not unique to academic integrity. That's effectively human nature across multiple. So, I mean, we've hopefully given you a little bit of a roundup of some of our motivations, some of our background, and some of the previous activities. And I think that leads nicely into what we're trying to do currently and you know, moving forwards. And that's sort of what we're using this platform to, well, announce, I suppose. And so if I can turn over to, I mean, she's been waiting years. So, Madam President Zenith, I give you the floor to enjoy the moment of the culmination of a lot of years of work, and just to explain to people what it is that's unfolding.
Thank you so much, Chris. Yes. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. My hands are sweating, and it's a very bittersweet moment because, as of course everybody knows, we've lost an absolute pillar of academic integrity, Tracy Bretac, and she was the first one in 2016 who stood up and said, Zenith, you know what? What you guys need is a center of excellence, right? Which is going to bring together people from different backgrounds, different universities, different schools, government, non-government institutions, to come together and look at this and provide support to everyone in the community. And I'm just so excited to announce that we've actually got our center, and we are launching today. And this was the big reveal that we've been leading up to. The group that is here today, and we're missing a couple of people as well, Dr. Nitesh, Dr. Stephen, and Dina. We've been working on this for the last few months, trying to get this done, trying to bring this to fruition, and finally it is here. We got our go-ahead a couple of weeks ago. Literally, that's why I said it's so bittersweet. Literally one day after we got the news about Tracy that we had the permission, we had the go-ahead for this. So excited to introduce to the world the UAE Centre for Academic Integrity. We are here, we are live. We've got a host of things that we've already got planned for the country to support the education system and the education sector, the students, the staff, the faculty, the agencies who are there working towards a better learning space for students for the future. I think Christopher has a video that he would like to share with everyone at this point.
I do. I have it. I'm hoping I can get it to work. So if either of our colleagues would like to say a few words about their involvement in this, well, I hopefully get it queued up.
Okay. All right. So as Chris said, so we've got a number of people here. So there's Chris, who is the vice president. We've got Srijit, who is going to be taking the lead with audits and research and statistics and sustainability area. Tim is going to be looking at research and particularly marketing. Professor Gomati is coming from the aspect of course, research, but also honor codes and moral guidelines. We've got Stephen, who is going to be looking at research and management. Dr. Nitesh is going to be looking at governance and protocols. And Veena is going to be coming at it from this as a school liaison and also from moral education for schools. Srijit, Tim, anything to add, Professor Gomati?
No, actually, I'm very excited to have the school person here with us. That is, I think, so important that we are going to start early, which was the whole idea. Let's catch them young and get them to develop a culture of integrity, okay? And we'll have a generation of people with integrity. Yeah, sounds very nice.
Can I jump in? I'm just actually really excited to catch the faculty and the teachers young. Do a bit of some innovative assessment design and really push that side of it. I'm really, that's where I'm super excited to see. Maybe not young.
They need a lot of this thing too. We have teacher resources. We need them to be trained. Everybody actually has to be on board.
And if all else fails, we can turn our power for evil and set up the opposite center, which we know will work. Okay. Fingers crossed. Let's see if this plays and you can hear it. Okay. Here we go. There we go. It worked. Fantastic.
Yeah, I want to clap.
And we'll obviously make the links available to obviously everybody. So we're as Zina says, we're up and running. We have some events coming down the line, which we welcome you to join in, webinars and conversations, and particularly one of the ones we're looking at in a couple of weeks' time is sort of new challenges and new responses, particularly about assessment design, authentic design, and how we monitor. And so we're always looking for ideas, contributors, collaborators, engagement. So please do come check out the site. And I think we probably now have a few minutes. Should there be any questions from the floor? Sounds wrong, but
Thank you, Christopher. And well, your session, obviously, it's the end part that everybody is sending in lots of messages, naturally, and truly from all of us. Congratulations, because this is phenomenal. You've been doing so much work in the United Arab Emirates, and this is just a great culmination of that work. So bravo, and all the best to you in that effort. If I could just share, okay, there haven't been many questions. There have been a number of comments with people that have been in agreement with a number of the things that you've been sharing, whether that was going back to how early it has to start, that it has to be before the students get into higher education. Absolutely, I don't think anybody will ever disagree with you on that. Irene just posted a question which is pertinent to this point. How can we persuade parents and teachers in school to promote integrity? And I know, Zenith, you've written about this, of course, in the past, and you've got young children. Of course, we've heard about some of the other children, whether that was sharing things that they were getting through the social media, or younger children as well. But whoever would like to address that?
Sure, I can start. Well, the whole thing is, when we've worked with schools and we've talked to teachers and a lot of the parents, for teachers, especially in school teachers, they just don't have enough teacher training that revolves around academic integrity. Even something as simple as, okay, so I know this assignment was not done by the student. How do I address this with the parent, right? So teaching them how to handle these critical situations, because as university faculty, we don't really necessarily deal with, parents and the support system. We deal directly with students, and that's what we are trained to do. But with school teachers, they have to deal with the primary caregivers, which are the parents, could be a guardian. And there just isn't enough teacher training around this topic to provide them with that right kind of support. At the same time, to give them that awareness, like, where do you draw the line? Where should you not accept these kind of assessments anymore? And same thing goes for parents. When you really sit a parent down who's actually done the project for the child, and you talk to them at length about the impact it's going to have on the child, you'll see like a little light bulb go up, and they'll go like, oh, okay, all right. So because they're so caught up in this whole rat race of trying to get things done for their child, making sure, and that little thrill at the end of the day, their project is being showcased, and they get excited about it. And so all of these things, when you bring it to the forefront and hold the mirror to the parents' face, they do take a step back and realize that, oh, okay, this is something I shouldn't be doing. It's not helping my child at the end of the day.
Yeah, can I just add one point to that? So this comes back to, because my son is in grade 3, and I know exactly what's happening around the school system and the teachers. So just two things usually come to my mind is, sometimes there is competition among parents to get their students to be number 1. So the parents actually compete, and some of these projects involve budget, and some of them spend a lot, and they actually build that project, and they want their student to be the winner. And basically, the student would have contributed hardly anything. It's just the parents' work.
Yes.
So on the contrary, like Tim has been telling about assessment strategies, and this applies to school as well, the assessment strategies. So why are the school giving projects to students that they can't handle themselves, exactly, right? And some of these things that are being assigned, even for my son, is develop a brain model. I mean, we can help as a student, but definitely, even with our expertise, we cannot develop that. And that's, at Comedy and at medical school should be doing that, and not at grade 3 should be developing a brain model, right, out of clay or not. So it's definitely, we're going to go somewhere, go shopping for that and get it. And, and they just put some tiny paint around it, and they say, this is our work, and they really don't realize. And this kind of goes through to school and parents. So end of the day, all the stakeholders have to be, be around in this, so that we are collectively addressing this, not in isolation.
Right. So, and of course, in some cultures, it may be more pronounced than it is in other cultures, right? Because ego is also always a part of it. So yeah, parents want to see their children excel. But then I guess it goes back to what it is that you've been saying all along, and what all these sessions, of course, have been about is the building the culture of academic integrity, so that whatever we're talking about, and contract cheating, of course, is our focus in the International Day of Action. But it does go back to us understanding how those values reflect back, not just in school, but in society. And we all, of course, talk about that. Any final comments, just because the session is going to be wrapping up soon, Chris?
Could I, sorry, I'm very sorry to interrupt you. Do you mind if I just, because what my colleagues have been saying, I think is absolutely critical. And I think we're presented with a very interesting time in education, because the online teaching of the last several months has given us an appreciation, if you didn't already have it, for what teachers do, an appreciation for how integrated parents can be in the learning experience. But also, I think it's given us something to reflect on what is actually the value of education. You know, if assessments weren't authentic, or they weren't relevant, or, you know, if we're looking at skill development, if we're looking at reconceptualizing what it is we're teaching, we have an opportunity to effectively have a culture shift in why are we doing what we're doing. If it doesn't work and it leads to cheating, to competitively driven, well, then let's look at adapting it, and maybe look at changing the way in which we approach this completely, which I appreciate is a mammoth task.
Right.
Have an opportunity.
And then of course, how you approach it. So grassroots somehow perhaps need there for globally, right?
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. Any last comment? We have about a minute left. Zenith, I think. Yeah.
I would just like to thank International Center for Academic Integrity for giving us this platform. You know, their conference kind of started us on this journey. I met Tracy and Teddy because we wanted to do this conference together. Tracy taught me that, you know, to get to people, you bring in a neutral person and who's not from the country, not from your university, and to talk about this topic. And we did that. And Teddy Fishman has been instrumental in all the roadshows that we've had, where she's gone with me to all the universities to talk to people. And of course, European Network for Academic Integrity, and the host of supporters and the advisors who have come on board. So thank you everybody for all the support that you guys have given. We're really excited to be starting this new journey. Like I said, bittersweet moment for us.
Yes.
But absolutely looking forward to helping everyone the best that we can.
And if I could just say, because your conference went on just, I think, a month or two before ours did in Greece in 2016. And I remember Teddy had visited a year before, and she had said something about that 50-mile radius. You have to bring somebody from outside of 50 miles to be heard differently, even if you're trying to pass the same message. Well, I really wanted to thank you all, because this has been an exceptional session. We are absolutely thrilled for you, again, in terms of your Center for Academic Integrity. I just wanted to say to the people that are listening in on YouTube, there's much more to the day. There's great things to be heard. We've got the European Network for Academic Integrity standing by, so please hold on to hear them and everything that they have to share. Please don't forget to tweet with the hashtags Excel with Integrity and hashtag my own work, and generally stay tuned for the next session, which, let me just have the glasses on. It's a long title. Is it? Hang on. Do I have it here? I'm going to have to say the right one. So, well, Salim Razi and Inga and Sonia Bialoba for the European Network for Academic Integrity. And I'm afraid I don't have the title right there in front of me, but you are on next. So everybody, please stay tuned. Thank you again to all.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. And do visit the website.
So hello. I guess that I would need
can you just
writing.
If you could just because they can hear us live, so we just through chat until we get you up on.
Okay.
Thank
Good.
you.